developed a technology where they create
Live streaming is on.
where they create electricity from rice husk, and they distribute this electricity in villages where people have never seen electricity before. When COVID-19 hit India, there was no Indian solution to test COVID-19 patients. My lab, which is a startup based out of Pune, they started first Indian-made COVID-19 testing kit. And the last thing which I want to talk about is the world is changing at a very, very fast pace. Today, a lot of people are consuming a lot of internet and spending a lot of time on internet. But interestingly, when you combine all the revenue which people make from music and videos and other things on online internet, gaming is bigger than that. And global esports has been coming up very, very strong. People who love playing game can now actually become a professional gamer, and they can earn millions of dollars every year by competing into online championship like Fortnite and PUBG and Counter-Strike and Dota. Very last couple of slides about startup funding. So if any of you are planning to build a startup, I'm sure you'd like to raise funding and raise funding from investors. So this is how you can raise funding. But before that, let me share a quick insights on how to start a startup. First of all, live in the future, ahead of your time. Don't build something which is already too cluttered and competitive and there are so many players. Try and look at what is missing in the world. Write down the idea and bounce the idea around with your friends and your family and people who can give you insight. Make a prototype. A prototype is a basic working model of a solution, and then show this prototype to 100 plus people. Now these 100 people should not be your friends or people who know you. These should be real consumer who can give you brutal and honest feedback. Once you get these feedback, work on the feedback and the prototype unless this makes sense. Find a co-founder, look for funding and build the version at the same time. Launch your startup. Social media is so powerful, you can use social media and launch your company, right? Then you have to follow up with the users and keep growing, and this way you can build a successful startup. Now, one of the most important point when you go to the investor would be they would like to know about your team, because more than the idea, more than the plan, it's the team which is important. So you need to have a very strong team. Now, what are the skills required in a dream team? Here, this is how your team should look like. Do you know what it is? It's Avenger, right? All the superheroes have so much power, but unless they come together, they are not called the Avenger. And that's exactly what you need. You need a team where if you are the coder or technology person, you should have someone who's good in marketing and sales. If you are good in marketing and sales, have someone who's good in technology, and have a very good combination of multiple skills. Very, very important. Today, there are so many news articles which talk about funding and acquisition and people raising millions of dollars. Don't build your startup for funding. Build your startup because you're really looking to solve a problem. Investors will certainly invest money for your business to grow. However, they will not give you money so that you can validate your idea, build a prototype, or launch your startup. But some of you might have this problem where you cannot reach till this level where you have your business to be business which can grow. So there are three ways you can reach till that level. Number one, bootstrap and grow with time. Number two, friends, family, and others. Number three, build magical products. Let's go a little deep dive into bootstrapping. Now, bootstrapping is a concept where you invest your own money or you invest your consumers your users money to grow your company. And there are so many wonderful examples, companies such as Zoho, Fusion Charts, Media.net, which became really big on their own investment. There's one very interesting example of a company called Spanx. It was started by an entrepreneur called Sarah Blakely. She used to be a saleswoman and she used to sell fax machine door to door. She had to go, every single morning, and sometimes she was not in a proper shape. And that's when she realized that so many women across the world who goes to office might want to look a little better, might want to invest on their appearance. And that's when she invested her savings and started the world's biggest and most popular shapewear company called Spanx. Second option is friends, family, and others. If you are a student and planning to go for an MBA, how about you invest that same money in building a startup? There are also options available like incubators and accelerators, and you also have options, something known as entrepreneur in residence, EIR by Nidhi. If you are a technology student, you can apply for Nidhi scholarship, and you can get up to 35,000 rupees per month, so that you can build your startup. There are also a lot of business plan events happening across the country where you can apply for funding, and you can get up to 15-20 lakh rupees just with your business plan. The next thing is crowdfunding. You can launch your product on platforms like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Keto, Wishberry, and you can raise capital. And last but the most important point is build magical products. Oculus, it was a startup started by a young person in his garage, and it was so innovative that Facebook acquired the company even before it was launched for $2 billion. Magic Leap is again a company into virtual reality and mixed reality, and they've raised millions of dollars because they are building a magical product. That brings me to the end of my presentation. That's my name, Ravi Ranjan. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, and that's my email ID. If you want to get in touch with me, send me a request on LinkedIn. That's the best way for connecting. That brings me to the end of my presentation, and we move on, and happy to take any questions from any of you. Kumar, maybe you can help us moderate the question.
Sure, Ravi. That was an amazing presentation. Thank you. I really liked it personally.
Thank you.
So now we open this to Q&A. If you have any questions, please feel free to type it in the chat here, or at this point of time, I think we can even allow to open up your mics, unmute yourselves, and feel free to post a question here.
Certainly.
So by the time we have some questions, I had one personal question, Ravi. So students, especially in the suburban areas, in towns, especially the engineering students, they do their final year presentation. They do put some hard work in building some of their ideas with the help of the professors and whatnot, but often they are not able to take it to the next step. They get busy in either searching a job, obviously, because if they are not financially stable, that's what most of the students go for, or they go for higher studies and all. So for students like those, what suggestion do you have, how they can focus on entrepreneurship versus going on for a job versus going on to higher studies? So if you can give some directions on that front.
That's a very good question, Umar. And so I think let me share my personal story. I think that would be very helpful. So I come from a very small village in Jharkhand called Chapla. So small that it's not even it was not even on map. When I was growing up, my village was the highest Naxal affected area in the country. The only thing which I could see around me was murder, violence, really bad politics, and no access to infrastructure. I studied from a Hindi medium school. In my school, forget about AC and fan. We did not even have bench and chair. We used to sit on the floor. and there was no access to internet. Obviously, the internet was not there at that point of time, and there was no library. There was, in fact, our teachers were very, very below average, right? So all in all, it was a perfect mix for disaster. Ideally, I should have been an unemployed person, or just go back and do some petty jobs, or do something, just to survive, right? But I have been able to do a little different. So from that today, I have spent. Umar, maybe we can mute people for some time because there's some disturbance coming in.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And so fast forward, as of 2020, I have worked with some of the best companies in the country. I have, as I already mentioned, I have trained more than 1.6 lakh students, more than 6,000 teachers. In my last job, I was working with NASSCOM, and that point of time, I got a chance to work very closely with Government of India on starting the Startup India policy, worked with various state government and etc. Looking at my contribution to the ecosystem, the government of US shortlisted me as a fellow of IVLP program and sent me to US, where I spent time, learning with my counterparts in the United States, and so on and so forth. 2018 onwards, I have been running my own company called Starting Up with Ravi Ranjan, which is an advisory where I work with a couple of state governments and other things. Now, why I'm giving you all of this? Because go back to my childhood when I was from a very, very small village. Really difficult, right? I mean, I cannot even explain how difficult it was. But that did not allow me, and I did not allow myself to keep looking at the problems every single day. I actually kept asking a question every day to myself, because there was no internet to ask question to. There was no mentor who I can go and ask. There was no webinar like this where I can listen to a speaker. Still, I kept searching every single day, and I figured out that I need to find solution for all these problems myself, and not only for myself, but for my family, for my parents, for my friends, and for the village where I am from. And similarly, all these young students who are coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities or small villages, you need to look at two things. Number one of the challenge why a lot of people are every day struggling, because everyone is chasing so that they can get a job where they can make money, right? That's one point which I agree. Everyone needs to make money so that we can survive and we can have a good lifestyle, we can take care of our loved ones. But the second thing which you need to understand, that getting a job, nobody has ever become rich. You can definitely get salary, you can buy a house, get a car, but you are not going to be rich. In order to be rich, you need to build a venture, you need to build a startup, you need to become an entrepreneur. Now the question comes back, if I'm a person who comes from a very humble background where I do not have a lot of money, how can I become rich? You need to start working on this from the time you are in school or college. You need to get two kind of skills. Number one, you need to get one skill which will give you an opportunity to get jobs and employment. And then you need to get one job, one skill which can give you money. What does it mean? It simply means that you need to work on creating skills so that while you are studying in school or college, you can do freelance work and you can get enough money so that you don't need to worry about paying your tuition fees or staying in a big city. How can you do that? Today, there are so many platforms like Fiverr, Upwork, Freelancer, and similar other platforms where you can go and you can actually get projects so that you can get paid. You can do web development, you can do app development, you can write content, you can do photo editing, you can do video editing, you can do blog writing, you can do translation. There's a platform in India called Gig India. On Gig India, you can do so many so many wonderful projects. There was a beautiful story which I read on Gig India LinkedIn post a couple of weeks ago. One family in Maharashtra, they are from the Saurashtra region where there's a lot of drought every year. So the family took loan for the marriage of their daughter. It was a mere 2.5 lakh rupees loan, but the interest became so much that the family was in a situation where they were not able to survive. Their son got admission to a college in Maharashtra, Nagpur, and then he also started working on Gig India. In less than 1 year, he was able to pay off the loan, and then he also got a lot of people from his village to actually start working as freelancer. Gig economy is the new word, and trust me, guys, if you develop one skill, which can be anything simple, you don't need to be a coder or programmer. You can be someone who can write good in Hindi, not even in English. You can translate from English to Hindi and you can get paid for that. You can do voice over and you can get paid for that. You can do photo editing, you can get paid for that. Forget about that. You can play games and you can get paid for that. So if in 2020 you do not have a skill where you can get money immediately, trust me, something is wrong there and you need to work on that. And just to summarize this question, I could not speak even a word of English. I had no access to money. I had no access to network. And look at me, I have been able to achieve something. Not very good, not very big, still work in progress. But if a person like me with no resources can do it, I'm sure people like you who have access to internet, who have access to mentor, who are part of the Springboard Foundation, I'm sure you guys can do way better than me. And I'll be the proudest person when I see your success stories. I hope that answers your question, Umar.
Yeah, it definitely does, and thank you very much. I really like the way you said about having a skill and not able to earn money in 2020. So I think that's really nice. So I would take one more question here. This is from Mujahid. He says, how do you connect these projects? Means the projects which I was talking about, the final year projects and all. How do you connect these projects with the curriculum itself? Like if you do these works, like an incentive of you score academically well and you earn money, or you get a discount in your college fee for your higher education or something like that. Can we combine these two together in our curriculum today? Because you also work with the government on some of the policies related to entrepreneurship and MSME and whatnot. So what are your thoughts on that?
Sure. That's a very good question, Mujahid. And I'll give a two-part answer to this. But before that, if you can mute everyone, Umar. Yeah, wonderful. Thanks a lot. So so I am currently working with a lot of colleges in the country as an advisor. One of the college which I work with in East India called Techno India Group. They have 100 plus colleges, 4 universities, 20 plus schools, 100,000 students, and 5,000 teachers. Now, what we have done at Techno India, because I'm an advisor and I have the capacity to create the curriculum myself, we have included ESD, which is called Entrepreneurship Skill Development. For the next 3 to 4 years, any student who comes to Techno India, they get an opportunity to learn entrepreneurship every single year as a subject. They get credits for building projects. They also get discounts in other credits if they are involved in entrepreneurship related work. That's one part of it. Second, I have also launched one of the first MBA in entrepreneurship in East India, where you come as a student and you walk out as an entrepreneur. So as I mentioned earlier, if you have money to go for an MBA, why don't invest the same money in startup? But some of the students might want to do an MBA, and also they might need a lot of mentoring and hand holding so that they can build a startup. So what we have done is that we have created this MBA program, which is AICTE approved and all of that. You come, you enroll, and for the next 2 years, you will be working on building a startup while doing your MBA. So your MBA subjects are actually build a business model, launch a product, do crowdfunding, raise capital, and by end of the year, second year, when you are about to graduate, your graduation ceremony will happen where you'll have hundreds of investors sitting in front of you and you are pitching for funding. That is when you graduate. Now, that is what I have done in my personal capacity. On a policy level, I'm sure all of you know that the new NEP, the new policy on education has been launched, and new education policy has so many fundamental changes to enable students to get an internship while they are still in school, enable them to go and get year break so that they can go and work on their startup ideas and come back again. And it has so many practical changes so that students can become entrepreneur. So all the problems, trust me, I was the most frustrated person with our old education policy, but things have changed. And I hope that the policy get implemented soon. And every time when I get an opportunity to meet any of the government official, we keep talking about how we can bring more and more fundamental changes in the policy. I'm also working with government of Gujarat, government of Jharkhand, government of Orissa, government of Kerala, and we try and incorporate entrepreneurship as part of the curriculum. I hope that answers your question, Mujahid.
Thanks for that. I'll take one more question. This is from Shagufta. She's asking, what key activities would you recommend an entrepreneur to invest their time in? Like the budding entrepreneur who wants to do something, the students, what are those activities they should start doing today so that they get that mindset?
That's a very good question, Shagupta. Thanks, Umar. First of all, as a student, if you are in school or college, the first thing which you need to understand is that you have a superpower in your hand. That's your cell phone with internet. If you're not using that superpower for your own growth, I think you need to change that immediately right after this webinar. How many times you have completed an online education program on your cell phone? How many times you have added powerful people on LinkedIn? Or do you have a LinkedIn profile, first of all? How many times you have tried to get a freelance job from your cell phone? Number one, you have to start spending more time on learning, and you have to stop spending more time on music and video and all the things which do not really matter too much. Number one. Number two, you should start from today that you would not blame your education, you would not blame your college, you would not blame your parents. Because if you go to a college and your only goal is to get a piece of paper, which we call degree at the end of the program, if that is your goal, then I think you are wrong. The college education is for you to get wisdom. It is for you to get knowledge. And how do you get that? Not by sitting in those classrooms and listening to the lecture. You would get that when you work on getting new skills. And you can get these new skills by going online. And then you need to start implementing those skills both to build new startup projects, because when you're in college, you have so much opportunity to take risk because you have your teachers and mentors and everyone to support you. But when you go to the real life, things are not going to be so simple. Number three, as an aspiring entrepreneur, you need to keep your eyes open and look for opportunities. I would recommend that you start reading entrepreneurship related articles on platforms such as Your Story, TechCrunch, TechCircle, Inc42, and etc. And then you can also, if you're little excited, you can also start watching movies which are entrepreneurship related movies. Give me a second, just 1 second.
Sure.
Sorry, I had to put my laptop on charge. Yeah. So, you can also watch entrepreneurship movies. Trust me, these are really inspirational things. So, for example, this wonderful movie called The Founder, which talks about the story of, McDonald's, or the book called The Shoe Dog, about the story of Nike. So these are the fundamental things. But first of all, you need to understand that the world has changed. And especially thanks to COVID. Why I'm saying thanks? Because what we were trying to do for last so many years, COVID has already done. Would you be in if there was no lockdown? Sorry, again, there's some noise. Umar, you might want to mute people. All right. So again, before the world went to a lockdown, it was impossible, very, very difficult for people to get for an online event. People would like, no, the bandwidth doesn't work, or things don't go well. I don't get that vibe in going into an online program. But today we don't have a choice. We have to come and meet online. So guys, you need to understand that because of the coronavirus pandemic, a lot of companies across the world, such as Facebook and Google and Twitter, they have already announced that their employees can work from home or anywhere in the world forever. They don't need to come to office. And because of that, so many things are changing, number one. Number two, a lot of business models are changing at all. What I'm trying to say is that if you're a student and you had a dream of working in a company, if that company is not innovating every single day, there are chances that by the time you graduate, that company might not even exist. A lot of government jobs are getting privatized. A lot of government sectors are getting privatized. So a lot of students in tier 2, tier 3 cities across the country, they had an aspiration and they still have an aspiration to go for government jobs. But you might not be able to get that incentive or that flexibility which people earlier used to get. So what I'm trying to say is that you need to understand that the world is changing. It has already changed at a very fast pace. So you cannot be a job seeker forever. Rather, look at if you can be a job provider. That would be the best thing. And that mindset would be the first start for your entrepreneurship journey. I hope that answers your question, Shagufta.
Thanks, Ravi. Couple of more questions. Nihal, he's asking, is schooling an important dimension of entrepreneurial attitude? Are you working with government on this dimension?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and certainly, Nihal, it is a very important aspect. At the school level, if you can inspire young people to think like an entrepreneur, it works really well. Again, in my personal capacity, I'm already doing it with all the schools where I'm associated as an advisor. Delhi government, AAP government, has already introduced entrepreneurship at school level in Delhi, and I'm also working with government of Jharkhand and Gujarat at the moment on bringing policy changes so that entrepreneurship can be introduced at school level. Yes.
Sure. One more question, again from Shagufta. She's asking, how can I set my business apart from the competition? She is referring to that USP, unique selling proposition. How exactly to build that? I mean, this might be like an open-ended question, but if you can provide some direction there.
It's a very good question. And Shagufta, it's really simple. Look at the problems around you. And fortunately, we live in a country where there are problems on every single step, right? Education is a problem. Communication is a problem. Healthcare is a problem. Access to good quality of life is a problem. Look at these problems and find a solution. I'll give you two-part answer. Number one, if you look at India, more than 60%, more than 70% people in India do not have a formal English education. And the way the world is designed today, you need to be good communicator to get a good opportunity. Forget about building a startup. If you start a YouTube channel where you can train people in how to speak good English for job, you can train them in how to speak good English from Kannada, how to speak good from Bihari, how to speak good from Bengali, so that they are more confident. I'll tell you a story of my friend, Mr. Vineet Kapoor from Lucknow. 2 years ago, I met Vineet at an event in Lucknow, and he was starting a channel called Zeta, Learn English. They had 100 subscribers at that point of time. Today, I think Vineet and his channel, let me just check, give you a real-time count. What they did is that they use very simple term and very simple methodology to train English. And today they have hundreds of thousands of people who are learning English on YouTube. They don't have any platform. They don't have any website. They don't have any application. All of the things happen online. They have 759,000 subscribers as of today. That's just last 2 years. Just an example. Second, if you're looking to build a new company in a vertical where there's not a lot of competition, let's take an example of e-commerce. If you're building an e-commerce company, there are so many competition companies like Amazon and Flipkart are there. It's going to be very difficult. But there are two aspects of it. E-commerce is large. There's various other verticals which can be a good part of e-commerce. How about you build a company where you can provide very, very genuine feedback and reviews to new e-commerce companies. There's a company called Trustpilot. Trustpilot started from the US, and today it's one of the largest platforms in the world, where if you are buying from a small business, you go and check their Trustpilot score. And then you know that this company is genuine and you can work with them. Number two, how about if you look at the biggest problem for e-commerce companies, it is logistics. Companies like Delivery and GoJawas and ExpressBees, Ecom, what they have done is that they have created a very large technology platform where large e-commerce companies can partner with them. Companies like, there's a very popular company, I'm forgetting his name, I think it's Infilogic. What they have done is that they have created a analytics-based route optimization for companies. So when you're sending a product from Bangalore to Jharkhand, you would get insight on what is the best route so that you can optimize your cost. So these are some of the examples how you can avoid competition and build your startup. Shagufta.
Thank you, Ravi. I'll take one more question and maybe a last question after that, if possible. Obviously, if you're okay with that. I know we are running short of time here.
We can take one question, yeah.
Okay, let's take this as final question. This is from Mujahid. He is asking, the risk of failure seems to be very high in entrepreneurship, and maybe this is the reason students or the budding entrepreneurs find it difficult to start with this entrepreneurship thing. So how to deal with this feeling and concern?
All right. How about you try and ponder upon that question yourself? Tell me where there's not a risk. I mean, the risk is every single place, right? Again, Umar, you might want to mute people. Thanks. Every single day we live with risk. What about if you are going out and you meet with an accident, or today you forget to wear your mask and you catch the virus, or you go for a job and the company shut down, or you're fired because you're not performing well and you have already taken a loan and you're not able to pay your loan, and then the company comes to your house and confiscate your car and take you to jail. How about you get married and after that things does not work out? How about you spend 50 lakh rupees on your education and after that you're not able to get a job? There are chances of risk. Yes, in entrepreneurship the chances of failure are higher, because if you do not plan well, there are chances that you might not succeed. But if you start trying from a college, trust me guys, let me give you a real example here. So let's say you are a student in first year of your college, and you have a friend. Both of you have the same CGPA. You are studying the same courses. What you did is that you kept on focusing on your college education, did not spend any time on anything at all. Your friend on the other side, while doing his program, he also started building a food delivery application where you can get home cooked meal by housewives, which can be delivered before your lunch and your dinner. He started with the college campus first, then he went to the city, then he went to the state. By the third year, the company became really, really big, and it's now expanding to various other states. And by end of final year, the company has become so big that he needs some people to hire for his company. He requests his college authority that please let me sit for the placement. But here, he's not sitting for the placement to get a job. He's sitting in the placement to hire people. And you ended up getting a job in his own company. That can be a scenario, and that is not exaggerated. That is a completely practical scenario. But let's see if that person start a food delivery company, but because of various problems, it could not become big. By end of 3 years, he had to shut down the company. Both of you and your friend, you went on to go for the placement. You both present your CV. On your CV, you have the CGPA and all the education degree you have. And your friend, along with all the same thing, he also has an experience as a founder and a CEO of a company. Trust me, as an employer, he would have 90% more chances of getting hired with a better salary than you, because this person showcased that he has the ability to take risk, he has the ability to act like a leader, he has the ability to solve problems. And trust me guys, companies are today looking for entrepreneur. So even if you do not want to build a startup, that's absolutely okay, but you need to act, think and behave like an entrepreneur every single day. I hope that answers your question, Umar and Mujahid.
Yep, yeah, at least it gets answered to me. I hope it does for Mujahid as well. So I think we will stop here with the Q&A, and I know we are running short of time here. We are over time actually. So Ravi, I think this has been a really inspiring talk, which I personally feel. I think there is a lot to learn. Lot to learn for our students who wants to become entrepreneur, lot to learn to the entrepreneurs who are working in the companies to think out of the box and be like an entrepreneur wherever they're working. Finally, I think on behalf of Springboard Foundation and personally from my side, I would like to say thank you to you. Thank you for taking our time and presenting these ideas to us. We are quite sure all the students and the different people from Springboard Foundation who are watching this and who will be watching it in the future as well, because we have the streaming online in our YouTube channel. We'll have a lot of questions, and if they happen to ask some of your support, we would like to get those people linked to you, and hoping to have some support from your side as well.
Certainly, that sounds wonderful. I would just like to conclude with one last thought. I was thinking about this and it came into my mind.
Sure.
So last month, I was invited for a talk by a very large university in Kashmir. Now, we all know that Jammu and Kashmir, not Jammu, but Kashmir is going through a very difficult time where for the last 1 year or so, the internet is not available. Even if it's available, it's in a 2G form. And we had a very nice interaction, but then after that, I started getting a lot of sensitive questions, a lot of personal questions about human rights and freedom and all of that thing. For 1 minute, I was a little hesitant, but then I started, answering, as a human being, as a person, not who is an expert in entrepreneurship, but as a person who might be in a situation like that. And I was so excited to see that these young entrepreneurs from Kashmir, where they have faced so many challenges, they do not hesitate to go on and try building solutions. There are very interesting startups such as Kashmir Box and etc., where people are trying to sell very authentic handicraft from Kashmir, or have a recipe channel where they are giving insights on Kashmiri Wazwan and stuff. And that gave me so much inspiration to me as a person, that no matter which problem or which challenge you face, you always come up with a solution. That's the basic human nature. As a human being, that is the basic thing which we do every single day. So do not let this feeling stop you that, oh, I'm not very good in technology, or I cannot speak good English, or I'm from a small village, or my family background is very poor, because these are your privileges. I always take my challenges, which is poverty at a childhood level, which is no access to technology, which is no access to communication. I take all these challenges as my privilege, and because of these privilege, I have become what I am today. So take your challenges as a privilege, and trust me, you would be able to set in a story and set an example which people would follow and get inspired, because that's what you want to do. You don't want to be a mediocre where people you keep complaining every single day. Rather, you want to set example for yourself and for your friends and your loved ones, that listen, no matter how many problems I had, I found a solution. And that's what we are supposed to do as an entrepreneur, as a good citizen, and as a good human being. Thanks a lot, Umar and Springboard Foundation team, for this opportunity. Very glad to be here.
Thanks, Ravi, and thank you everyone for joining this wonderful session. I hope we have a lot of lessons to take from this session, and let's be in touch. We will be back with some more expert talks in the future, so please stay tuned to our channel as well. Thanks once more, Ravi, and we will stay in touch. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot.